The Matrimonial Causes Act, 1973, grants family courts vast discretionary power to distribute wealth when a marriage ends. The court evaluates a total asset pool, which includes tangible capital like property, pensions, and capital savings. Modern legal precedent, established in landmark cases like White v. White, views marriage as a partnership of equals. As we see in this schematic, that partnership principle establishes a yardstick of equality, where the baseline assumption is a perfect 50-50 split of the assets. However, that perfect split shatters the moment a specific variable is introduced, a minor child. Section 25(1) of the Act mandates that the court's first consideration must always be the welfare of any minor child of the family. Therefore, true asset division is not driven by strict spousal equality. It operates within a statutory hierarchy where child welfare acts as an absolute legal trump card over adult fairness. The central tension for judges is determining how to achieve objective fairness when the statutory guidelines are intentionally broad. To solve this, the court does not rely on a single mathematical calculation, but applies a layered methodology. By constructing this legal architecture step by step, we can observe the precise mechanics of discretionary rulings. Practitioners must understand this exact hierarchy to accurately advise clients on how the court will ultimately distribute their capital. Even the broadest judicial discretion is anchored by a rigid statutory structure that dictates which factors must carry the most weight. The court's decisions rest on three foundational pillars: financial needs, compensation, and sharing. This matrix shows the first layer of the court's framework. These are the specific statutory powers available, including property adjustment, lump sum payments, and pension sharing. The court cannot deploy these powers arbitrarily. They must be filtered through a strict set of criteria. That filter is the Section 25(2) checklist. Layered over the available powers, it introduces variables like needs, resources, standard of living, and contributions. The court evaluates factors like income, earning capacity, and physical or mental disabilities as individual sliding scales for both parties. Within this checklist, need is defined strictly as basic requirements for housing and sustenance. In the vast majority of cases, basic needs push to the absolute maximum, consuming the entire asset pool and minimizing the relevance of other factors like past contributions or living standards. Because securing housing and income takes priority, the principle of equal sharing is irrelevant for most divorces. It only applies in high net worth cases where a capital surplus remains after all needs are met. These variables are all governed by an overarching statutory directive established by Parliament in the Matrimonial Causes Act, 1973. Section 25(1) states explicitly that the court must have regard to all the circumstances of the case, giving first consideration to the welfare, while a minor, of any child of the family. Look back at the matrix. This first consideration mandate descends as an anchor, locking the weighting of the sliding scales below it. Public perception assumes divorce law focuses on adult equality. In practice, adult equality is instantly subordinated to child stability. Section 25(1) acts as a structural anchor, preventing courts from prioritizing spousal fairness if an equal division would jeopardize a minor child's fundamental requirements. To see how this anchor functionally reallocates housing capital, we examine its application in binding case law. In Souter v. Souter and Jones, the court ruled that attaining a just financial result between spouses is strictly secondary to the welfare of the children. We can observe the mechanics of this capital distribution in Fisher Aziz v. Aziz. Initially, the family home sits as a central asset to be divided. The core ruling determined that if one parent remains as the primary caregiver, they should normally succeed in an application to transfer the home entirely to themselves. The legal rationale provides the non-resident spouse's immediate right to realize their capital share through a sale. This ruling carries strict caveats. It applies only if the exiting parent can be released from the mortgage, and if the home does not far exceed the family's basic requirements. Case law definitively proves that the concept of a partnership of equals yields immediately to the practical necessity of housing a minor child. The statutory architecture contains one final complicating factor: the clean break principle. Look at this addition to the matrix. Section 25(a) imposes a duty on the court to consider terminating all financial obligations between spouses as soon as it is just and reasonable. This creates a direct structural conflict. The court's desire to achieve an immediate clean break collides with the ongoing financial requirements of a growing child. Section 25(1) structurally blocks the severance of those ties. Courts often implement delayed property sales, like a mesher order, forcing the financial tether to remain intact. While the law desires spousal financial independence, the ongoing welfare of a minor child legally prevents the possibility of an immediate clean break. We began with the theoretical illusion of a 50-50 starting point and built the rigid reality of the court's statutory hierarchy. Equality is instantly sacrificed the very moment the heavy structural weight of child welfare enters the legal equation. Because basic needs consume the entire asset pool in most divorces, true capital division is dictated by who requires housing and support. Evaluating fairness without first applying the Section 25(1) filter will result in deeply flawed legal analysis. When the principle of equal sharing conflicts with the fundamental requirements of a minor, Section 25(1) resolves the dispute. In the hierarchy of financial remedies, child welfare is the final, non-negotiable weight that dictates the legal outcome.